Well, good afternoon everyone, and welcome back councillors to our council meeting, which we started this morning everyone, and unfortunately we didn't finish the agenda, so we're going to have this lovely interlude and then we're going to head back into making some final decisions for the city. I do want to welcome everyone that's come along today. We're kind of packed in a little bit, but I think it'll be a lovely afternoon. Just to let you know, we are on live stream webcam, so the cameras are live streaming us as we speak, and the man over there with the hat controls all of that, which is good news for us. And secondly, this is a council meeting, but we're sort of taking a little bit of an interlude in it. So because it's a council meeting, the first thing I'm going to do is to move that we suspend standing orders, because if I don't do that, we'll have, as the councillors know, points of order and all sorts of things going on, and of course we don't want that to happen today, right now. So I'll move that we suspend standing orders, and the Deputy Mayor is going to second that, and we'll just do it on the voices. All those in favour? Any against? Phew, lucky. Yeah, any debate. We debate at length, as you can imagine. Look, there's lots of people here today that I guess fall into the VIP list. In fact, everyone here today is a VIP, family, friends and members of the public. But I do want to particularly acknowledge my colleague mayors, the mayor from Matamata-Piaka, Jane Barnes, the mayor from Waikato District Council, Alan Sanson, the mayor from Waipa, Jim Milcrest. It's a pleasure to have you here. You know, mayors are a certain breed and we share a certain code, and we don't disclose that to anyone, and it's great to have them here. I also want to acknowledge the MPs, Tim McIndoe, and I know David Bennett's on his way, I think, and I think Sue was hoping to get here as well, so thank you for coming. I also want to acknowledge former staff and former CEs that are here, because we really wanted to make sure that those people that have been part of the councillors that are retiring, their journey also got to share in it, so thank you for coming along as well. And the media's here, and they sit over there next to the cameraman, and I know that they will be taking note of everything we say, which they always do. Right, so the process today for this part of the council meeting is we're going to have our wonderful kaumātua Tāmei welcome us, and then we're going to have some speeches from some retiring councillors, myself included. There'll be a few gifts exchanged and a few awards. The photographer will rove around and take stuff. And then we will adjourn the council meeting and go down for, in David Natsky's words, tiny tea, cakes and tiny tea, or something like tea and tiny cakes, yeah, which is a palatial spread. We've gone all out this time, and that's going to be downstairs. And so we hope that you all stay around for that as well. Okay, so Tāmei, I will call on you to welcome us. Thank you.
E te manu kāhui, Julie, ko ngā kupu tuatahi, kia hāpai ki te rangi tūhāhā, ki te matua nui te rangi, kia hora tamarino i Wainganui i a tātou e pai nei i tēnei ahi ai. Kia tau mai manaakitanga ki rungi i a tātou katoa e pai nei i rungi te reo karanga o tēnei rangi whakahirahira. Kia tau ana manaakitanga ki rungi te kēngi, kia hikoa i rungi ngā tongi kura, i waihotia e ngā mātua, i ngā tūpuna. Ki te hunga ko whetūrangi tia i Wainganui a koutou, i a mātou hoki. Hoki atu ki Hawaiki nui, Hawaiki roa, Hawaiki pāmamao. Moi mai, moi mai, moi mai i roti tariki. Koutou ngā mema o te kaunihera, o kirikiri roa. Koutou ngā rangatira hoki o te hāpore, ngā koro matua o ngā taone. Ngā rangatira o te whare miere, a tēnei te mihi atu kia koutou katoa e hui tahi nei i roto i tēnei whare mo te kōpū mānia o kirikiri roa, te kaunihera o kirikiri roa. Ka nui te mihi atu kia koutou katoa te iti me te rahi ko hui tahi i tēnei rangi. Gordon, Kōrua, Richard, te manu kāhui, Julie, tēnei te rangi whakamiharo o te ngākau kia koe, kia koutou hoki. Ko tae mai mātou ki te whakarangatira i tēnei rangi. Nō reira, ko ngā kupu kia wātea i tēnei ka hoki ngā mahara ki te wā I mai ngā waka o Hawaii ki nui ki tēnei whenua ko ngā kupu tuatahi ko te tuku I ngā whakamoemiti. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to do a little karakia just to commence proceedings. It is my pleasure just to extend a warm welcome to you, and especially to the Mayor, Deputy Mayor, members of the Council, members of the community, mayors from the different regions and of Parliament, and of course our beautiful city of Hamilton and the greater Waikato. I extend a greeting to you once, I extend a greeting to you twice, I extend a greeting to you 3 times. In a Polynesian context, when those canoes arrived in Aotearoa several hundred years ago, the first thing they did on landing was give thanks for crossing the Great Pacific. And may I do the same in that blessing this time, Mea Hareka, that you've reached the destination of your journey, you and the Deputy Mayor. And may we remember those times when they gave thanks. We'll do the same as the next people, navigators of Council, pick up that rein and move the city forward to be the #1 city in New Zealand. E te atua kahara koe nei mātou a auponanga. Koropiko nei ki mua I tō aroaro. Uhi ata korowai o te aroa ki runga I o mātou I tēnei wā. Whakatoangia tō wairua tapu hei arahi, hei tohu, hei āwhina mātou ki te tutuki ngā moea mai te rangi ki te whenua. Ko koe tau mātou peringa, ko koe tau mātou tokatu moana, anei mātou tuku whakamoemiti, I runga te ingoa tō mātou kei whakaora, mo ake, amen. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, kaheke.
Great, thank you. Tēnā koe, thank you, Tāmei, for those lovely words and for that very special welcome to everyone here today. Okay, so we have 5 councillors who are retiring. Councillor Ewan Wilson, who is at this moment in Europe, spending some time with his family, and I know the Chief Executive is going to talk a little about, when he speaks later on today, about the contribution that Ewan has made to the Council. We've also got Councillor Karina Green, who is retiring after a first term, and she unfortunately can't be with us this afternoon, but also the Chief Executive is going to talk about, when he speaks, about the contribution that she's been making to the Council during this term. So we're now going to hear from Councillor Margaret Forsythe, who has been with us 2 terms, and then after her it'll be the Deputy Mayor, and then it will be me. So Margaret, the floor is yours.
I think I'll sit. I always feel much more comfortable sitting, so I might as well continue the way that I have behaved for most of the year, well, the 6 terms, 6 years, I should say. Look, I want to thank everyone actually for being here. It's quite a lovely surprise to turn up to this farewell and to see so many familiar faces and so many contributors to the city, so I feel quite humbled actually. My challenge today is to keep this myself under control. So, as I pondered my valedictory speech today, I looked for inspiration from great world leaders. I was taken by a quote about leadership by Mahatma Gandhi, whose birthday, incidentally, is on Sunday, October the 2nd. And this timing, I felt, was right. Leadership, he said, I suppose at one time meant muscles, but today it means getting along with people. And although Gandhi died in 1948, his philosophies are just as relevant, and I believe even more relevant today. I've had the privilege of sitting at this chair around the council table, and I've never taken that privilege for granted. The decisions made around this table I've never taken lightly, and I've always felt like I've done them for the right reasons, not to win or lose or about ego or this or that. I've always felt that I've made the decisions that I think are the best for our community. Very early on in my role, I really understood what sitting in the hot seat meant. There were decisions around Māori representation, around fluoride, about even whether we should go to the Auditor General or not when Council considered investigating its governance and decision-making through the V8 process. They were tough times indeed, a bit of baptism by fire. But the real work for me where the getting along with people really matters, where the results really are achieved, is what happens beyond the council table. The real work happens in the working groups, in the more relaxed engagements, in the coffee meetings, in the briefings, and in the chats around the water cooler. And I've worked with some outstanding people, and today I'd like to take the opportunity to thank a handful of them. I will forget or not include everybody, and I apologise to those people who I don't mention, but I really do want to make special tribute to those people that I've gained a lot from, but who I feel we've worked together in a collaborative and really special way. I'd like to start with some staff members. Thank you to the transport staff that I've worked closely with on the Hamilton Joint Public Transport Committee. When I was asked to join that committee, it was reasonably dysfunctional. There was a lot of one side and the other side, and by the end of my tenure, I was even asked to be chair, which at the time was quite a challenge for me. But along the way, I've really learnt some not only leadership skills, but been privileged, I think, to be in that position where I can really help create some better relationships. The public, as I said, the Joint Hamilton Public Transport Committee, traffic hearings and the biking plan. So special staff members that I've worked a lot with are Robin Denton, Phil Considine, who's actually moved on, Jason Harrison, and Catherine Johns. And that process that Catherine and I worked pretty closely on throughout the biking plan was fantastic. We really achieved some good results. So thank you to those people for your diligence, your patience and good humour. To Andrew Parsons and his water team, thank you for the way that you go about doing your job. You show great resilience, reliability and enthusiasm, and I think it's really fitting that today is the day that Council will be operating its fluoride-free water source, one of the first municipal fluoride-free water sources in the country. So I'm very proud of the fact that we've been able to achieve that. My thanks too goes to the playground staff, to Sally Sheedy, Gina Halewood and Reg, the groundsman. That playground working group was a fun group, and we had a fun topic. Who wouldn't want to be on a playground working group where we made some great decisions, but we had some really good engagement. We talked and conferred with members of the public, with school kids, with parents groups, and we really got a great sense of what they wanted, what the users wanted. So we came up with this plan that catered for the young, the not so young, the ageing, the less abled, and we're delivering on those, and the plan to really bring out even more exciting and interesting and different playgrounds continues. One of the most effective teams I've worked with has been the External Funding Subcommittee. What a great little team that's been, and it's been powered along by Pocket Rocket, Lucy and Anastasia Du-Hobbs. Deanne McManus, Emery and Andy Mannering have also been instrumental in delivering what we have had to do with that group. But for that little group, spearheaded and led also by Deputy CEO Lance Vervoort, we've really surpassed what we thought we'd be able to achieve, raising over 2 million dollars for the city has been extraordinary. And it's been the quality of the relationships in that subcommittee that's really helped us get over the line, get to where we wanted to be. So we've been able to deliver priority projects through that subcommittee, projects like the biking plan, like destination playgrounds, like museum projects, like learn to swim projects, like zoo education programs, and thousands of plants being bought for planting at Waiwhakareke. That's just a few of the things that we've been able to achieve. But the jewel in the crown of all of this, of course, is our world-famous Hamilton Gardens. Our project governance group, led by Lance Vervoort, supported by Helen Paki, and spearheaded by the visionary Dr. Peter Sergel, has been outstanding. We've only got 4% of the total of the over $7 million that we need to raise to go. And we've performed ahead of time, and we've really, we think, met the objectives of what our group was set out to do, and that's to make those gardens even more world famous and even bigger and better. So thank you again to these key people. I'd also like to thank my councillor colleagues, especially those that have supported me around the council table, and to those that I've worked with on many council working groups. Thank you to Councillor Truman, our joint transport working group, joint committee, and being on the biking plan, to Councillor Green for playgrounds working group, Councillor Gallagher, who was just about on everything that we did. Thank you. Councillor Pascoe, for turning up to meetings and working group meetings when he actually wasn't a member. Thank you for doing that. That was fantastic. That shows you the level of interest.
Now you tell me.
To the Deputy Mayor for external funding, and Councillors O'Leary and King for business investment. Special thanks to the general managers, and in particular to Lance Favort and Chris Allen, because I've worked with them more closely, so I think I've had sort of stronger relationships with them. But the things that we've been able to achieve, Lance, I know the way that you drove the indoor rec centre, and I never thought that we would get that over the line, but what a salubrious day that was. And you know, we've got people in the room here that certainly helped to drive and get that over the line as well. It's great to see Matthew Cooper here too. So there were a few tears shed that day. But these men, I've made phone calls to them and emails to them all times of the day and night. Chris, there's flooding here. Chris, there's plants on the road. Lance, this is untidy. These toilets don't look great. And look, they've always been ready to do what needs to be done. They have a genuine desire to do a great job for the city. And look, I know all of our general managers and our CEO and staff have that same desire. So my penultimate vote of appreciation goes to HWM, who worship the Mayor, Julie. We've both shared a council pathway. Just got to take a bit of a drink.
Imagine us all naked. That's what you do.
When we were both newly elected members in 2010, man, was it a baptism by fire. At times I thought to myself, what the hell have I done? What have I let myself in for? But I took comfort from the fact that I had a colleague that understood what I was going through too, although actually she had more to deal with than I did. But thank you, Julie, for your visionary leadership, for your resilience, for your energy. Man, this woman can work hard. I thought I worked hard, she works extremely hard, and for your enthusiasm to get things done. I've shared your desire to act, to do, to get things done, and as a council, we've followed that leadership. And lastly, but certainly not least, I'd like to acknowledge and thank my family, some of whom are here today. And I'd like to finish with a quote, not Mahatma Gandhi this time, but a quote from my mum. She always used to say, always leave a place better than you found it. I think I've done that. Thank you.
Margaret, well done, and a few little jokes in there too, because it's been a great ride. There's some lovely flowers for you, a gift from, I guess, from the council to recognise your time here as a councillor, and you're right, we came on together and we're going together, 6 years together. And we haven't forgotten you, Brian, because of course behind every good woman there is a reasonably able man. I'll get to you, Steve, soon. Yeah, I know. And of course what people may not know is I've actually known Brian for a long, long time, before I even knew Margaret. Just coincidence really, so something for you too. Margaret, some people are going to make some speeches a bit later on, but my personal thing to you is you've been outstanding, and I will mention that in my speech, and thank you very much for the contribution you've made. Everyone here, sometimes it isn't actually the stuff you see, it's the stuff you don't see that makes a big difference, and she's one of those people. So thank you. Right, I'm now going to call on the Deputy Mayor, and it's with some trepidation, I have to say. And because he is, of course, an eloquent speaker and a man who can command the room. And unfortunately, which is unusual, Deputy Mayor, you didn't run that speech past me. So I have no idea what he's going to say. But the floor is yours, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Julie. Look, it's rather disconcerting when you come in here ready for an emotional speech about 12 years and the Democracy Services puts the tissues in front of you. But look, I'd like to share with you something from my days at Hamilton Boys High School. And we've got 6 colleagues here in the room as councillors who have come from Hamilton Boys High School. And I hope that you recall what I'm going to be saying, because you should have. So Councillor Gary Mallett, Councillor McPherson, Councillor King, Councillor Pascoe, Councillor Gallagher. So you can see a fine body of men running the city for the last X number of years. But look, it's a quote from Shakespeare's Macbeth. Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and then is heard no more. So having strutted and fretted upon the stage for the past 12 years of me, you will hear no more. Well, actually just a few more minutes. Today for me is about acknowledgement, and to my wife Rita, thank you for giving me so much time to do what I've done at council, at Wintec, at the DHB and in business. And it's now time for us and our family and our 4 children, their spouses and 11 grandchildren. And over the 12 years, certainly, I have missed many grandparent days, many other special family occasions. So now I have no more excuses, no more excuses. So last year, Rita and I talked about whether I should seek another 3 years, because I've really enjoyed it. But she reminded me there was a time to go, and that time was now. If I remember correctly, and this is as true as I'm standing here as Deputy Mayor, she said it was time to be wise and to step down. It was the same advice she gave me when I had been chairman of Wintec for 10 years, and Mark Flowers down the back will know that this is also true. It was time to step down. And Rita reminded me that even though I was retiring from a job I loved, Wintec would continue, and with a new chair would be in a safe pair of hands. And that's the truth. But back to council, I'd firstly like to acknowledge the voters who supported me over 4 elections. Thank you. I hope that I have served you well. I'd like to acknowledge the thousands of volunteers in our community. Thank you so much for the contribution you make and the difference you make to our city. To our CEO, Richard Briggs, I do know, and this is the truth, that many of our ratepayers would prefer you to be earning the living wage. But I have to say, Richard, you're worth every last cent we pay you. Thank you for the job that you've done, and I acknowledge it's not always easy to provide a balance in, at times, a testy political environment. In a relatively short time, you've demonstrated the leadership needed to prepare the city for the exciting future that lies ahead. To the management team, and I'm not going to name you, I have appreciated working with every one of you. Thank you for being professional, hardworking, and people I've absolutely trusted. To all of our council staff, thank you. You have been wonderful through the past 12 years, through the changes of 4 chief executives, 3 mayors and various councillors, and all of the subsequent restructures that often bring with it some pain to organisations like council. You are our real assets. And to my political colleagues, thank you too. Yes, it has been challenging, and we have been left, centre and right, and centre of right and left of centre and right of left. But that's what democracy is all about. We are simply a reflection of the community we live in. And looking back, this council collectively can be proud of doing a great job, as can the council before it and the one before that and the one before that. We all strive to leave the city in better shape than when we found it. And I'm confident the new mayor and council will pick up the challenge and take the city to the next level. And now to Mayor Julie. Julie, you've been an outstanding mayor. Thank you for trusting me as your deputy mayor for the past 6 years. It has been a real privilege. Your capacity to work all hours God gives has been remarkable. And there have been times when I really wanted to have a lie down and a cup of tea. So, Julie, I've admired your professionalism and the way in which you've embraced many political challenges. I've learnt much from your leadership. The city owes you a huge debt of gratitude. Your vision, passion for the city, and the way in which you have raised the bar is your legacy. You will be missed. So finally, after 12 years, what have I left behind? It's not been about me, but about the city. And I've simply tried to do my best as part of the council team. And leaving legacies has not been one of my objectives. But yes, there are legacies. They are not the legacies that my colleagues will think of, such as changing the rating system, voting against Claudelands that went ahead anyway, dealing with the flush and the aftermath of the V8s, selling off pensioner housing, non-fluoridating, then re-fluoridating our water supply, the Ypres Memorial Garden, supporting Hamilton Gardens, the city ambassadorships and the civic awards, the peace tile wall, which seemed to take about four years to resolve, and it's just sitting outside the chamber here. 2 books, The Houses of Hayes Paddock and Heritage Hamilton, as well as the public art catalogue. Enjoying the corporate box at the stadium, hosting VIPs. Attending the Volunteering Waikato Awards, representing the city at Anzac Day parades. Being the iwi liaison councillor, and my relationship with Waikato Tainui, which has been over a period of 25 years. On leading the charge for heritage and better urban design, and hopefully saying goodbye to ugly buildings. My diaries are full of meetings with many groups in the city and helping our mayor with various civic duties, including hosting international delegations. There have been many issues on behalf of individual residents frustrated by council action or inaction. It's been a privilege to represent the city and to be a voice around this table. A special thanks to our hard-working members of Parliament, David Bennett, Tim McIndoe and Sue Moroney. I wish you the best for next year. And finally, about the legacies, because I've talked about some other council things, but these are the legacies that I do leave behind, and these are just personal to me. In the past 6 years, I've conferred citizenship on almost 8,000 New Zealanders. At Wintec, it was conferring degrees, diplomas and certificates on over 15,000 Wintec graduates. So that's 15,000 smiles, photographs and handshakes. The unusual legacy that I leave is different from that you might think. Having been photographed with 8,000 new citizens and their families, and photographed with 15,000 Wintec students, my legacy will remain virtually unchallenged. I am on the mantelpieces in thousands of homes throughout the Waikato and around the world. And now to candidates who will become the class of 2016, my very best wishes for October 8. Work hard for the communities that have elected you, enjoy it, be prepared to disagree, and most of all, be prepared to move on after decisions are made. Thank you, Mayor Julie and colleagues. I have strutted and fretted my hour upon the stage, and I am heard no more. Thank you.
So, of course, Deputy Mayor, we've got some gifts for you there. And we also, of course, want to recognise Rita, who, look, just one of those wonderful, wonderful supports for Gordon, and a great sounding board, a lovely person. And Gordon, you made some interesting comments. We spend so much time doing things not at home in these jobs. And the people that are left at home, of course, have to carry on, as they say. And Rita, you've been fantastic, and it's just been great to have you around. So we've got a lovely bunch of flowers for you here. Now, Deputy Mayor, I'm also going to, I've also got something else for you, which the councillors resolved that we would want to do for you, and this is on behalf of all of the city. And it is with great pleasure that I announce that we're going to recognise the Deputy Mayor for his contribution to Hamilton with a Freedom of the City Award. Yes. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about this award and about some of the contributions that Gordon has made. He's talked a little bit about it, but of course, as you can imagine, there's an awful lot more. So, to be a freedom holder of the city is the highest civic honour that the city can bestow, and we don't do them very often. There are some freedom holders sitting amongst us today, and these are people that have made a significant and sustained contribution to the city and to our community. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about just all the great things this person has done. It's quite amazing, actually. I'd love to have the CV, Gordon. It's incredible. 40 years, really, over 40 years of involvement in the council, health, education, Māori relations, and the community, both business community and in our social wellbeing community. So Gordon's been a councillor since 2004. And Deputy Mayor since 2010. He's chaired many committees on the council. I think he's best known for his chairmanship of the Event Sponsorship Committee, which he did for a long period of time. He's also been on the Heritage Advisory Panel and been a champion for heritage in the city. And I guess that got started with the Ugly Buildings Award that you got going. But, you know, it's part of what's made up Gordon. He's also been the chair of the World War I Commemoration Committee, and I acknowledge former councillor Peter Boss here today, who's also part of that. He's been our person for Waikato Tainui. He was appointed by this council to be that person on behalf of the elected members, and he's done a fantastic job of that, and he sat on the co-governance committee that we have with Waikato Tainui and been an amazing contributor to that. He's been involved in many projects, initiated lots of projects that have really made a difference in our community. I've talked about heritage, he talked about the peace tiles, you're right. What's quite humorous about the peace tiles is they were taken down and it took 4 years to move them about 5 metres, but we got there in the end, didn't we? He's done the public art catalogue, which he took on of his own initiative and got it all done and sorted, and in fact sent it all around New Zealand. And that's made a big difference to the way people see our city. Gordon's been a member of the District Health Board. He was on the District Health Board for 2 terms. He was an elected member, and he chaired the Community and Public Health Advisory Committee, and he was also Deputy Chair of Audit and Risk. He was also, as he mentioned, on the Windtech Council. He was a government appointment on the Windtech Council in 2001, and he retired from that role in 2012. And during that time, he oversaw, as chair of that council, the $100 million redevelopment of the whole Windtech campus, including the Rotokauri campus. And as the leader of the council, he led that initiative. As well as that, he's been a big supporter of the university. His contribution to education has been massive. Since about 1986, he's been involved in the university. He is the major sponsor of the biggest PR and communications prize in New Zealand, and he's done that for 15 years, and that is the most sought after award for comms students in New Zealand. He's guest lectured, he's been appointed on special review panels at the university, he's currently on the advisory board for the School of Management. All of these things that he does to make our place a better place. He's also been involved with Waikato Tainui for a long time, 27 years he tells me. He's been a member of the Tainui Cultural Committee. He was a founding trustee of the Waikato Tainui College of Research and Development, personally appointed by Sir Robert Mahuta. And of course that college established the first Maori MBA, which in 2011 won an international award for that course. Look, Gordon's well known, I think, in working life. There are people here today who know him in that business life. He would be one of New Zealand's most successful PR, marketing and communications consultant. He was an innovative person in that sector, starting up a business here in Hamilton, which was very unique and very different. Today it's mainstream, but he was the trailblazer of that. 40 years in journalism, public relations. He's won international awards. He also won twice the Outstanding Project of the Year award for his PR work. He's been on the Waikato Rugby Board. He's been a director of the Hamilton Airport. He's been on the Waikato Chamber of Commerce. He's a fellow of the Institute of Directors. He's a member of the Public Relations Institute. He was a chair for several years. But on top of all that, in 2013, he was awarded, in 2006, he was awarded the New Zealand Order of Merit for his contribution to the community. It's much more than that. It's all the other things in our community. So it's a distinguished and long list, capped off in 2013 by an honorary fellowship from Windtech. I've known Gordon personally, of course, over the last 6 years and before that. And I can assure you that uppermost in his mind always is the community. And I think his contribution has been absolutely outstanding. And I'm so pleased, Gordon, to give you a Freedom of the City Award. So fantastically deserved. Right, now it's my time. I remember the morning after being elected back in 2010, when I most definitely woke up in a state of panic at the enormity of what had just happened the day before. I think it was the fear of the unknown, and it was certainly a moment of doubt following, the euphoria of the day before. And I think both Steve and I had a few seconds of, oh my God, plus some other words that could not be repeated. But look, it's been a great 6 years. I've really enjoyed most aspects of the job, and we'll talk a little bit about that soon. And we've had the most amazing experiences, truly amazing. But the past 6 years have been a time of really big change in local government. The government gave us a new council purpose, enshrined in legislation. Mayors were given more powers. The government put some financial caps and stuff on us about how we had to perform and be accountable to the government. And they became fixated on driving a process for amalgamations. And all this happened within a matter of the first 12 or 18 months of becoming the mayor. During my time as mayor, there's been 7 different local government ministers as well during that time. Yeah, interesting. You can take that one back, Tim. Look, could be. Could be plugging for a job. Look, I've seen in the GFC, and I've seen it go. And now we are in economic boom times and property boom times in that 6 years. And our population, when I came to this office, was, sort of like this. And now it's like this, exponentially growing. One of the first meetings I had as mayor was with my fellow mayors, going and advocating to get the Waikato Expressway across the line. And here we are, only 6 years later, and that is almost completed. One of my other first tasks was to hop on a digger and turn the soil for the ring road. And here we are today, and that is almost finished as well. And I think I did quite a good job of actually working that digger. There's no accidents, no health and safety issues. When I arrived, Claudelands was being built. And look, it was an enormous privilege to open Claudelands and to bury the time capsule that we did. I think that is an outstanding public asset, and Steve and I have had some great times at Claudelands. We've seen some amazing things there, and we've met some superstars, well, in my generation anyway, superstars. I think Hamilton's very, very lucky to have Claudelands. It's a fantastic facility. During the past 6 years, we've also had some amazing sporting events. I mean, talk about right time to be the mayor. Gosh, we've had Rugby World Cup, we've had Cricket World Cup, we've had FIFA Under-20s, we've had the Rowing World Championships. When I first arrived, I think it was in a matter of weeks, I was out at Karapiro. I've attended all of those events, opening ceremonies, closing ceremonies, the finals, and we've welcomed people from all around the world, from every inch of the globe, have come to Hamilton to enjoy those events for us. Plus, of course, the Chiefs won back-to-back Super Rugby. We've had the Ranfurly Shield, the Magic won the Trans-Tasman, and Northern Districts the Plunket Shield, more than once. And meeting Sonny Bill Williams, who did put his arm around me, has been, I have to tell you, is pretty high on my achievement list. Pretty high. Sorry, Steve, but yeah. Yes, unfortunately he couldn't come today. We've also celebrated our 150th birthday, and that was in 2014. And look, to be the mayor during that time was just such a special thing. Celebrating our history, celebrating our city and what we are and our identity. Oh, it was just great, and coming of age, I think, as a city. And we had a great day on the celebration day in the city, and lots of great memories of that day. Another really significant and meaningful event during my 6 years was the signing of the co-governance agreement between Waikato Tainui and ourselves And we did that under the shadow of Te Winika in the museum. Look, what an occasion that was. The speeches, the song, the meaning behind what we were doing was, you know, you could feel it in the room. And the sense of warmth and personal friendship that has come from that relationship and, you know, expanded my knowledge of all things Māori has been very special to me. I treasure the name that has been given to me as Mayor by Waikato Tainui, and Ray, I acknowledge you. So thank you, Tāmei. You've been a great kaumātua, wisdom, quietness, but persistence, and I really treasured that. Rahui Parakawhia, great to have you here, and wonderful to have your friendship. And Ray, we've had some fun times out at the marae, and Te Reiti, you're part of that as well. Thank you very much, because, you know, it's been a bit of a journey, and I've really embraced it, and I want to thank you for that. Steve and I have met royalty. Prince Charles and Camilla, Prince William and Kate. Now, that's really special for me because I love the royals, and in fact, when we went to London, I spent nearly a whole day in the Buckingham Palace gift shop. So that is also right up the list of achievements, very important, the royals. I mean, that was amazing, right, Steve? You know. Oh, yeah. Being at the gift shop was amazing. But, you know, standing on the tarmac, you know, it's such a rigmarole to even get yourself on the tarmac, isn't it, Justin? You've got to go through the 3rd degree. But standing on the tarmac and, you know, they put the stairs down and you're there waiting for those people, and then they emerge and come down. For people who like the royals, it was quite incredible. I've met the Governor-General, the one that has just retired. Delightful. Absolutely lovely. The Prime Minister, whose mobile is in my mobile phone, and he does answer if I ring. Ambassadors, mayors from around the world, the Speaker of the House of Commons in the UK, a very senior person, one's behind the Prime Minister, I think, in the UK. We hosted him. I've met the voice of Lisa Simpson, and that was fabulous. I've visited China. I've cuddled a panda, and that was amazing too. I've attended incredible events. I've welcomed, like Gordon, thousands of people to become new citizens of our country. I've joined in hundreds of ethnic festivals. I've planted trees. I've patted the rhinos. I've been up close and personal with the baby chimpanzee. And I've met hundreds and hundreds of people who volunteer every day to do amazing things for our city. And Gordon recognised them too. Truly incredible. Daily, hundreds of people who give their own time to make our city fantastic, and we couldn't do it. We couldn't actually function as a city without them. So I want to thank each and every one of them for that contribution and for their kindness to me, because they have been lovely. Now, of course, there have been some challenging times. And I think it would be fair to say that although I had done my homework, I was not prepared for the full impact of the V8s and the financial fallout that came from that, and the effect it would have on me personally, on the council, and also on the city. You know, I think it's hard actually to put those times into words, actually. I think in reality there's only 3 people who really know what that time was like, and that's me, Steve, and Barry Harris, the CE at the time. When we went to the meeting with Minister Rodney Hyde, and Martin came too, you know, we came within a millimetre of having a commissioner appointed to this council. And, you know, then we had the significant budget cuts that we had to make, the 8% rates increase, the arguments and tension around the council table as well, the advocacy to keep our Fitch credit rating, and Barry and I know what that was like. Monthly reporting to the government, We had to send a letter every month to one of the ministers, whomever it was at the time, of local government. And the caning from the media, which was relentless, absolutely relentless. Phone calls every day, interviews, criticisms, attacks, and some of it actually was very personal to some of the councillors of that day and to me. I recall one photo, and I'm glad that you were here, Peter Boss. It was on the front page of the Waikato Times, and it was a photo of Peter Boss and myself with our heads on the bodies of an Amish couple who live outside, in America. And the article was about the austerity drive that we were on as we were sorting out the budgets, and that was full frontal, front page. And although Peter and I had a bit of a chuckle about it, sometimes those things, not so sure. I think the hardest thing at the time for all of us, and genuinely all of us, was sort of the public and their reaction. People would come to the public gallery, there were lots of letters to the editor, and there were placards sometimes in the council chamber. I remember an article, in fact I looked for it last night, that Nikki Preston when she was with the Times wrote, and it quoted me as saying to councillors, have some guts, which is correct, I did say that, when we were trying to make some tough decisions on the budget, because it was very, very hard to work out what we would need to trim back. But you know what, we got through all that. We amazingly got through all that, and I think that, when I think about achievements, I would definitely put the finances up there. Actually having a financial plan, just having a plan, it's been an absolute winner for us as a council right across New Zealand. The debt, and it's 100 million less than it was when I first came. Just all of the things, I think, most importantly, were all the things the public never talked about, which was all the changes internally, all the due diligence changes we made, the Audit and Risk Committee, the internal auditing, the way we reported, the committees and all of those things. They made such a profound difference to the way this organisation makes decisions, and none of that was ever reported. But I feel very proud about all of that and how we went through that together and achieved that. And I think that is a great thing to have done. And it was pretty tough, but I think it actually made a big difference to our city and this council. I think too that when you go through those processes, and that financial stuff, now that it's sort of a non-issue, there's so much more confidence in us from the public and in the city and the way we see ourselves and the profile we have, along with all the investment that's happening. So, it's a good news story in the end, I think. Now, there's been other challenges, and some of them have been quite humorous, I suppose. Floodgates. Now, all of us that were there at the time will remember that. That was when we sent 28,000 letters out to Hamiltonians telling them that they were going to be flooded. Now, that was what you would call, in Gordon's language, a PR disaster. And it was a disaster. Because most of the people that got those letters, they were never going to have a flood at all. I got, didn't we, Steve? We got them too. We were thinking, how could we have a flood? We live so far from the Waikato River, but, there you go. But, out of that came a most amazing time with the community, because we had to set up, makeshift consultation places where they could look on the map and find out, if they really were going to get flooded. And actually, I had a really great time when we did that. Fluoride. Look, I can confess to you today, I had no idea how passionate people were about fluoride until we started that process. And still today, I get asked about fluoride and I get asked about that process. Amazing. And the other challenge, I guess, legal highs. That was such a soul-destroying thing for our city, and to see the effects of what was legal synthetic cannabis on the streets was just terrible. But, we led the charge. Hamilton led the charge together with Tim and David to the Minister, and we got the law changed. And that was through our advocacy, and Angela, thank you for that, because you were the cold front of that. I also put the media in the challenges box. Look, you're great to have around, sort of. You're very important. Yes, we know that. And you have a job to do, and actually it's a very important job in the structure of accountability. But look, honestly, at times it's been stinging, hurtful, sometimes certainly unfair. And that is something that no one can prepare you for in this job, because it is nothing like you think it might be. But I do want to acknowledge Aaron Lehman, who isn't here today. He's been our civic reporter, because I think he's done a really good job this term. He's balanced. I think he gives everyone a good hearing. And you know what? He's polite, he's objective, and he genuinely is interested in what's going on. And I have told him that this morning. And so I want to acknowledge his work. I won't miss politics at all, I won't at all. Look, you know, and I'm going to be blunt here, the game playing and that political grandstanding thing that sometimes goes on, I just think it's futile. I don't like it. And I think it puts a lot of people off the council and even wanting to stand on the council. It sort of seems to be part of politics, but it's something that I confess I do not like and have not liked at all. So I won't miss any of that. But you know, all those things are really easy to forget, and I had to stop and really think about them for preparing today, because we've done so much and things are so, you know, so many achievements. And I looked over the stuff that I had written about what I wanted to achieve as mayor, and I can tick all of those things off. You know, we've done some major things. We've changed the rating system. It's amazing. We've signed off a new district plan. It's amazing. We're going to build a new theatre. We've agreed to help build an indoor rec centre. We've sold pensioner housing. It doesn't matter if you agree or disagree with the decisions. It's the fact that we have done those, and they are major things that councils might do one a term, and we've done all those. But the things that stand out for me are the river plan. 30 years of trying, and now we've got it, and I know that will change us. I know that. It will change the way our city is and our identity, and I'm so proud of that. Hamilton Gardens, incredible, incredible. I love the Hamilton Gardens. What an asset for the city in New Zealand. I've loved working with Peter, the team, everyone there, and I can't wait for the public to see what we've created with those gardens when the doors open next year. I think people will be blown away by what's happening. That was the first project that we did, the major project partnership funding, and you know, we've proved that that can work. It works well, and we've been successful, and thank you, Lucy, it's been great. A really notable achievement for me has been the Central City Transformation Plan. For decades there's been so much ad hoc fiddling with the CBD, and even today so many people with that whole single issue thing, parking or one other thing, whatever. It remains to me a real frustration that people continue to knock the CBD when that is not what's happening. You know, there's been lots of investment and change for the better. So all the research, all the effort and everything that went into that plan, which is about the whole CBD, will change that for the future. I've got no doubt of that, but I think it's going to take a couple of decades for people to look back and say how good that plan was. And I really hope that that gets implemented. I've loved the playgrounds, I've loved the biking projects, I love that we have the Christmas City brand, I love the planting in Victoria Street, thank you Gina. I've loved Anzac Day, 100-year commemorations, they've been great. And I've loved that we've changed Bridge Street to Anzac Parade. I think that was really neat. I'm also really proud of the partnership approach we've taken to funding things, big things, not everything, but big things. And what's that's shown to me is in Hamilton, in our community, there are the most amazingly generous people who really want to be part of the future. They want to be a contributor. And I'm so grateful to them for that, and I hope that continues. I've worked with some great people. Not only did we have all that stuff we've talked about when I first arrived, but Michael Redman, of course, was out the door within 2 weeks of my arriving So we had the new mayor, we had no permanent CE, and we had to go and look for one. So it was really surreal, quite surreal times, I have to say, quite weird. So Blair, thank you. You stepped in, and your knowledge about the place, the processes, how it all works, it was an absolute godsend, so thank you for that. I've worked with two very different but fabulous CEs. Barry Harris, right man at the right time, no doubt about that. Huge expertise, authority, mana, and you know, he was a great asset for the council at that time, and I really enjoyed working with Barry. He's a really, really great guy. Richard is sort of like my kid brother, I think. Now, I know. He's going to say, why did you say that? I know. I thought, oh, I probably undermined you there, Richard. Oh, no. But, you know, we have had such a great working relationship. We have a lot of fun. We can really hash it out. We're both people with high level of resilience, and we can be frank and honest. And that is essential in a CE chair relationship. And I think the council's in really, really good hands. So thanks heaps, kid brother. Thank you. Look, I've worked with heaps of neat staff. A lot of you are here today. I'm not going to name all of you because it would go on forever. But look, I've really appreciated the people that have got on board with the journey, because sometimes it's been a bit tricky and a bit hard, but there are people in this organisation who have embraced where we're going, and I want to thank you for that very much. I haven't worked a long time with a lot of the general managers, but look, Chris Allen, you've got the creative brain of an engineer, which is zero, of course. I know, I knew you'd say that, proud of it, I know. It's the sort of thing Chris and I have about his creativity. But, you know, he works all night like me. We're often the last people to leave the building. You're a great person, thank you. And Lance, you're just fantastic. Passionate about Hamilton and the community. Thank you. You've just been great. And thank you to all the new GMs that have come on board. I think the future and where we're going is in great hands. Look, my council colleagues, you come in all shapes and sizes. And you all have different views. You all have different views. And look, it's not always been easy. Let's be real here. It hasn't always been easy, and we've had some spats. But we've had some funny moments and some humour. And some of it is not repeatable in public. But, you know, I think if you step back and if you leave the tension and the arguments and some of the sniping at the door, it's actually been a pretty good team. You know, so I will miss some of that, not all of it, of course, but I will miss some of that, and I wish you all luck. Look, a special acknowledgement to my female colleagues, to you, Angela, great support. You're an ideas person, and I think the city's really lucky to have you because you're a great ideas person and you're so enthusiastic, so thank you for your support. And Margaret, we came on together. You're right, we came into God knows what. I think you're underrated. I do. And I think you're going to be the next coach of the New Zealand netball team. Now to my deputy dog, the deputy mayor. What a team, eh? What a team we've been. Look, we've had a lot of fun, eh? We've had some great times. We've had plenty of laughs, but geez, we've worked hard. And he's right. He would sometimes come to me and say, I need to lie down and a cup of tea. And I'd say, get some backbone. What are you doing? Knowledgeable. He's a PR expert. He's an ideas man. He's a community champion. He's a heritage saviour. And he's a donut expert. You don't know that, do you? Yes. Sometimes on a Friday we have a donut. Look, you've been a treasure, and I mean that in the most genuine sense. You've been a treasure, and thank you for all of it. We've had a great ride. Thank you to the MPs, Tim, David, Sue. Look, I work very closely with Tim and David. They do a great job for for our city. They really, really do. They are passionate about Hamilton, and I know they stoke the fire down there because I see it and I have meetings where that happens. And we've had a great relationship. Sometimes, of course, people have said that I see and know you better than my husband because we go to so many events together, but it's been great. So thank you. I've really appreciated your support. Thank you, Ian. We started 6 years ago and here we are today. Wouldn't have been here without you. Thank you. I've had two great chiefs of staff, Bella and Leanne. Absolutely could not have done the day job without them. Great people. Leanne, you've been brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much for your work, for your leadership, for your honesty. We've had a great relationship, robust discussions, and your passion for doing the right thing for the city, because that is a quality that I've really, really valued. So thank you so much. You're a real asset to the council. Thank you. Justine, my champion, totally professional, lovely person. I've enjoyed working with you, and China was a blast and you were amazing, so thank you. To my mother-in-law Carol and Angela over here, these are the dog minders. They are the excellent providers of feedback of the citizen of Hamilton. They are the small jobs people. They are the cake bakers. They are the newspaper record keepers and all the rest. They are the people who are at home. Definitely could not have done this job without you. Thank you. My brother Brendan, great sounding board. And of course, family are always brutally honest. And that's very important. And we're kind of joined at the hip. To my husband, who's called the Mayoress, because it's a very male-dominated environment. Look, someone said to me the other day that they knew the mayor had 2 dogs, but they didn't know she had a husband. It's true. But that's the life of a spouse. Hey, Rita? That's the life of a spouse. They make enormous sacrifices. You've made amazing sacrifices, huge. And the public don't know that or recognise that. So it's been a great journey. We've had some great times. Thank you for coming on it with me. Finally, look, it's an enormous job. It's actually a serious job. This is a big business, a big council, a big city. You need to know stuff. Actually, you do. And you're under scrutiny all the time, all the time. And I won't miss any of that at all. I've made my contribution. I've done what I said I would do. I've ticked all the boxes, and yeah, it's time for me to go. Thank you.
Hawaii,
so we could even auction it. Now, Julie talked about loving the Royals, and I know that because she has weekly subscriptions to new ideas. But look, I did see some doubting Thomases out there about meeting the Royals. So we have got for you, and we will open it because I think I'd like to show the people. And this is a gift from your colleagues. Now, there is a story about the Royals, and moving through all these new ideas in Women's Day, she was greeting the young Royals out through the motorcade and at the airport, and then off to aerospace. And then she discovered she was locked into the security process. So I got the lunch with the young Royals out of the velodrome. Now finally, this is something that's very special, and Julie, this is a rose, and you need to know, Julie, that normally I would never just give to a woman just one rose.
Is this all right then?
So look, I think we will probably open it. Because the collection from your colleagues, I can only afford one rose. But look, there is a story attached to this rose, and I'll call it a symbolic rose. It's in the colours of pink and cream. And what's symbolic about this is that we have arranged through our city scientists to create a new rose called Julie. Now, I am taking orders now. But the new rose will not be on the market commercially for about another 18 months. So we're hoping to try and replicate Julie's favourite colours, which are pink and cream. So this rose, Julie, is simply to remind you of the thought behind it, and in 18 months you can expect that Julie will come onto the market and So I think that Julie, is a very special way of acknowledging the way in which you've led this city in the last 6 years, and I hope you get great enjoyment when you place the real Julie into the vases in your lounge room. So well done, Julie.
I wonder how I'm going to top that, to be honest. The best I was going to do is name the next 10-year plan, Julie, but anyway, we'll move on. I'm just going to say a few words about the outgoing councillors. It's interesting for me in that it was this council as its current formation that employed me as the Chief Executive, so I've got a lot of thanks to the current composition, and with 5 members leaving at least, the composition may be entirely different, and given that statement, if you do get back on, I might not be the Chief Executive going forward. But anyway, firstly, I want to just pay honour in terms of the contribution that Councillor Margaret Forsythe made. Councillor Forsythe is an absolutely impressive individual with absolutely great lineage in terms of coming through as a netball star, as a teacher and a police officer, a coach, and all the great work. And it was mentioned a lot of it by Her Worship and also Margaret in her speech. Margaret has been a very fair and pragmatic person. I had the privilege once of going up against Margaret against a developer over development contributions in a hearings subcommittee, and she was very fair and pragmatic because council lost. So maybe not so fair and so pragmatic. Margaret's been an absolute ambassador for city cycling, for indoor rec, for recreation, and passion for playgrounds, and the great work that was done there and the leadership you showed was amazing. I think it's important that we have not only staff that are passionate, but elected officials are as well, because I firmly believe we are a team, and I think your accolades for staff is probably reciprocated in accolades for you as well, councillor, so that's awesome. You're stepping down to pursue full-time netball commitments, and I think I agree with Mayor Julie that we expect to see ongoing and better and bigger things, and we'll be proud of you. We'll still claim you for our own. That's right, we'll positively claim you for our own, and we look forward to seeing your successes going forward. So I just want to say thank you so much, and on behalf of staff, thank you. We do have a further gift, and this is each outgoing councillor and the Mayor, and Justine's doing the honours, thank you. So this is a contribution from staff, and it was grown in our nursery, so thank you so much. The second, thank you, Councillor. The second individual I'd like to acknowledge is Deputy Mayor Gordon Chesterman. I've had a great time with Gordon. He's got very much got an interesting sense of humour. Warped, I would suggest. In fact, sometimes I think he's just trying to stitch me up, because after the tirade of media backlash over my pay rise, Gordon suggested that he could arrange for a lone Jag to be arranged for me to drive and park in the car park, and I was thinking, I said, who the hell is he trying to stitch up? I've got enough flack right now. And he didn't seem to think it'd be an issue at all. He's absolutely had the Mayor's back, and he's always been there, and what I've been really impressed about is that when Julie can't attend an event, and because her diary is so chocker, that the Deputy Mayor is always there, and he's always happy to do it. Every now and again, Julie gets triple booked, and so Julie goes to the flash one, Gordon goes to the OK one, and then I just front up at whatever's left over. But I do appreciate at times, I do sometimes get a choice. Gordon, as has been said, has been an absolute advocate for the heritage of the city, event sponsorship. I've been thoroughly impressed and envious of his ability to speak and articulate in council. It's awesome. There's a couple of jokes have been made around Gordon saying that he's going to lie down and have a cuppa. I've actually seen Gordon lie down. And there was a white substance in a glass that looked very much like water, so I think he was lying down having a gin. So, and amazingly, it's usually after walking out of Julie's office. So. So that's awesome as well. The other aspect is that Gordon made a comment that there's thousands and thousands of photos out there of him on mantelpieces. As you leave, you'll be all taking a photo with you. So and you guys haven't seen my contract. It requires me to have a life-size photo of Gordon lying across my hearth. So. Anyway, so Gordon's been a great ambassador for the city, and I've been extremely proud to have worked with Gordon, and extremely proud to call him Deputy Mayor. So thank you, Gordon. And would you like me to carry this one? You got it? Yeah, good workout. Awesome. Okay, the next councillor I just want to pay tribute to is Ewan Wilson. Unfortunately, Ewan couldn't be here today. I thoroughly enjoyed working with Ewan because he calls a spade and smacks between the eyeballs with it. And to be fair, being a not very subtle myself, so sometimes I need a smack between the eyeballs to actually get the point, so I do appreciate that. He's done a lot of great things in his time as councillor. He's been heavily involved in economic development and proud of where Hamilton's going. He's someone that's innovative and someone that's passionate, and he's done some great things both as councillor and as well as through his work on the DHB, but also as a businessman. And I admire him in terms of his passion and his spirit that he has in those areas. He's an absolute excellent debater, another councillor that I'm envious of in his ability to debate and influence, because that's one of the key things with councillors is you can have your views, but the debate time is an opportunity to influence your colleagues through good oratory and good information and evidence to see maybe a different way of looking at things, and Ewan had that in spades. And one of the things I did appreciate him, he's a bit of an enigma in that he's got these commercial focus and so forth, but he's also big about the community as well. And he's, in the last 10-year plan, he fought hard for free pools for under fives. That was his idea. And so it shows the breadth of his experience and the breadth of what he's into as well. So pity that Ewan can't be here. We've got a pot plant for him as well. We'll put it on his doorstep. So when he returns from Europe, he'll wonder what it is. So that's all good. I also want to pay tribute to Karina Green. Karina was a one-term councillor, and she brought into council a lot of passion. She's got a lot of experience in both from a community point of view, but also is a very successful businesswoman in her own right. And whilst there's been some commentary that she hasn't necessarily spoken up as much, trust me, that one-on-one with Karina was very influential. She had some very strong views in a number of areas and what was good for Hamilton. And I really enjoyed the conversations and the commentary. We had some really robust discussions around housing, affordable housing, availability of lots, how the housing market worked, and she brought a significant amount of experience from her work in that development field, and it helped challenge my thinking, and it helped make the reports we brought to council more robust. So whilst you didn't necessarily get to see how great she could be in the council chamber all the time, one-on-one and in small groups, she let her passion come through, and that was great. So I do appreciate it. And again, we've got a plant from our nursery as well, which might look great in a show home. So we'll take that forward as well. So lastly, I'd like to honour and pay tribute to my big sister, apparently. So if you're my big sister, what does that make Gordon? Yeah, pops. Yeah, pops. I've been lucky enough to work closely with Julie over the last 2 years as Chief Executive, and also when I was the CFO, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Julie's going to be remembered in terms of sorting the finances out, those big things, the River Plan, Central City Transformation Plan, and Hamilton Gardens. I'm going to remember her as someone who's extremely intelligent and hard-working. I'm also going to remember her as someone that actually one-on-one, the hard-working persona and the drive drops away, and she's a very personable and friendly person with a very interesting sense of humour as well. And we got on extremely well, and we were able to call a spade as well. But I'm going to miss working with you, Julie. It's been thoroughly enjoyable. A few things I've learnt. Up until about a year ago, I wasn't a dog person. I've now got a dog. Julie is an absolute advocate for women in leadership, and which is awesome. And I've been berated for the last 2 years that women get things done, and so that's another thing that I've been told to remember as well. So, Julie, your leadership has been amazing. The advocacy, mentoring and support you provided me has been great. You've achieved a lot in your term as the Mayor, and I wish you well in your next endeavours, and I'd like at some stage to tell me what they are, because people keep asking me. And I think staff would also reflect my words as well, and thank you for your contribution to the organisation. Thank you. A little funny for you, Marius. Excellent.
Can I say something quickly?
I was about to get to that, actually.
I'll let you finish.
That's all right. So, well, you can't see me at all. Yeah, so we're going to have. I'm going to have a little bit of an open mic within reason, because the speeches have drifted on a little bit longer. Typical politicians, and we didn't have the timer on. So first, Steve, would you like to say a few words? And then I'll ask councillors if they want to say anything before some other people that want to say something as well. So go for it, Steve.
Thank you for the opportunity, Richard. Yes, it's been an absolute roller coaster, up and down. But I think it's something that not many couples get to share. being the mayor and the mayories of a city. So we feel pretty special, and we've had some absolutely wonderful times. And Julie was right. Some of the challenges, some of the challenges are there, but they do fail in comparison to the vast number of really neat things that you get to participate in, get to do, and the wonderful people you get to meet that you'd never normally get to meet unless you're in this particular role. There is something that not many people know. There is a restaurant in Hamilton that brewed its own beer, and they named that beer the Mayor Julie, and that was something that I really liked. I bought dozens of this stuff, and I've still got some of it at home. Very beautiful label, delicious beer. I think it's really nice and really fitting that the city has gifted a rose to Julie, because that's something that she would like. And I think it's an absolutely wonderful gift from the city to Julie, and a great full stop on her term as mayor. So thank you very much for gifting that to her. That's great.
Would any councillors like to say a short few words?
I hope you're looking at me.
Go for it.
Thank you. Look, I'll attempt to be relatively short. But in thinking about what I wanted to say, and I am directing this at our mayor, I thought, well, I'm probably going to be following the deputy mayor and maybe the CEO and a few others. So I knew that you'd touch on, and I knew that in fact Julie would touch on some of the things that she's proud of and that she's done. So I think about how you've influenced me over the last 6 years and the legacy that you've left behind for women in particular, in the future who will lead us. And but it's interesting that the comments have flowed today, and a lot of it's in what I'm going to say. But I guess if I had to sum up your term as mayor, I would say it's simply just been about getting stuff done. And to illustrate that, and to illustrate your legacy over the many parts and projects that you have done for us, and that you have that we will see in the future, I thought the only way to do that was to jump in my time machine and write you a letter. So I've done that. It goes like this. Dear Julie, I hope you're enjoying the south of France. I hear it's lovely this time of year. It's been a few years since I've written, so I thought I'd drop you a line to tell you what's been happening in Hamilton. You'll be thrilled to know that the ferry bank is all completed now, and that Gordon Ramsay's restaurant on the waterfront has just won its second prestigious award. The view of the pedestrian bridge over the river is the best from his restaurant, and enjoyed even better with a glass of Pinot and his famous peach cobbler. We opened the Waikato River Centre a couple of years ago, and you know how I favoured this building the most. I tried several times to have it named after myself, but my colleagues wouldn't support that. I'm not sure I agree with them on that, but you can't win them all. The last of the new 12 gardens at the Hamilton Gardens have now been completed with a generous government grant of $8 million. Now that Tim McIndoe is Prime Minister, and one of his favourite spots is our gardens, it has stood us in great favour indeed. We did have a bit of a scare recently though with the magical playground at the gardens when we celebrated its 3rd birthday. Apparently councillor Mallet, now well into his late 60s, got disorientated using the magic tunnel, fell asleep and decided he'd stay there a while. It took us 2 days to find him. We opened all the remaining new 10 destination playgrounds, and as you can imagine, we were very careful not to lose Councillor Mallet again. And the playgrounds were generously paid for by the US President Trump. After his 3rd visit here to Mr. Ramsay's restaurant, because apparently he has a pedestrian bridge fetish and can't stay away from ours. The Hamilton plan is old news, I'm afraid. We achieved everything you set out for us to do, and I'm really not sure what we're going to do next. So if you have any ideas, please write back in earnest. Our residents haven't had a rates increase for years, and we're so in the black that we've been giving them back money each year. As you can imagine, they rather enjoy that. We became the third city economy some years back, and now people are accidentally forgetting we even have a Christchurch and a Wellington. The new theatre is doing extremely well, and rumours have surfaced that again Elvis is alive and is coming to play in Hamilton. I'm not sure we have any booking space available for him though, but we're working on fitting him in between the Rolling Stones reunion and Beyonce. You were right about the location down by the river being the best for the theatre. You can walk from Hamilton East over the pedestrian bridge straight into the theatre, but being right next to the art gallery and the Hilton Hotel works quite well, I think. We now have 250,000 Hamiltonians living in the city, but since we expanded our boundaries and took control of Tamaheri, Cambridge, Raglan and Narrawahia, you hardly notice. The central city is doing extremely well, and I think the addition of the David Jones and Myers stores may have helped just a little bit. The Victoria residential precinct is now the most sought after inner city living anywhere in New Zealand, but who can blame people for that? The smell of cherry blossoms in spring and the chance to bump into George Clooney, who has a summer apartment there, is enough to entice even the happiest of married women. Garden Place is looking superb. You'd hardly recognise it, and it's hard to find a spot at lunchtime to sit quietly with a sandwich. The many kiosks are bustling with business and resemble New York in the summertime. In fact, it really does resemble New York in the summertime, because the giant screen showing the crossover live feed of Times Square that you suggested some years ago sees thousands of tourists come into town. It's funny watching people smile and wave at one another, and I swear this one time on New Year's Eve I saw Brad Pitt wink at me. Opening up the front of the council chamber was a great idea, and the restaurants, cafes and shops are now a premium attraction. Richard Briggs, although older, is still our CEO, and you'll be pleased to know finally got himself a car bigger than a matchbox and more fitting for a man of his height. But mostly, though, he bikes into town on the many off-road cycle tracks we have all over the city. So I think that's about all the news I have. It's been 2 years now since I retired from council. Being the mayor for a term was great. But then when my bestseller book became a movie, well, it's a little more fun than politics, as you can imagine. I'm having lunch with Daryl from The Walking Dead tomorrow in Times Square, and that reminds me I might text councillor Mallet to go and wave at me from Garden Place. Say hi to Steve from me, love Angela.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. I actually thought I was quite credible, particularly up to the point when you said Councillor Mallet was disorientated. That was really believable. But the idea that I'd actually bike to work, that is lost all relevance. Now, I'm getting the wink. Any other councillors, because I have some other people that want to speak, any other councillors want to say a few short words that was missed in the initial introduction? Otherwise, we're going to miss afternoon tea, I've been told. Okay. So, Mr. McIndoe.
Kia ora tātou, good afternoon everyone. Your Worship the Mayor, beautiful Julie Rose, hereafter to be known as Petal. Deputy Dog, Pops. I'll tell you now, but I don't think you've ever known it before, that when we used to sit on stage watching you come onto the stage at Wintec in your capacity as Chair of Council, wearing your wonderful gown and that lovely sort of cap that you had, you were also always known as Paddington Bear. Kid Bro, as the youngest of 5, I can tell you should be delighted. Most of my older siblings would never acknowledge me in public, so well done to you. I won't acknowledge each of you because, as Julie has said, you're all very special people here, and we're here today primarily to say thank you and farewell to those who are leaving. But could I acknowledge all of the councillors for your service to our city during the past term, and I'll come back to that in a moment. Could I acknowledge the two groups of people who are behind you, literally today, the senior managers and all the staff of the council whom you represent. We are extraordinarily well served by each and every one of you, and we don't often get the chance to say thank you. But the job that you are collectively doing for the city is considerable and deeply appreciated. And of course, it's also the partners of all of the councillors who are here today. Guys, look at Brian, look at Margaret, watch and learn. That's how it's done over there. To see Margaret come in with the flowers and to know that she had the support of her family actually spoke to me of the fact that none of us could do the job that we do without our partners. And so, Steve, I want to say that there was absolutely no truth in the rumour that you were dispatched down to Christchurch so that David and Julie could spend more time together. Yes, it's true that we do see more of each other in some weeks than of our life partners, but I can say that I have performed my duties as chaperone with great distinction, and all honour is intact. I have to say, quite surprised yesterday when Justine rang me and asked me if I would like to say a few words on behalf of the MPs for the city, and in fact, I was deeply honoured, Justine, and wondered why I had been chosen. 15 minutes after the ceremony began and I looked around and realised that all the others had sent their apology, it became more apparent to me. But could I acknowledge David, who snuck in quietly? And I do want to say to Julie in particular how much we have enjoyed working with you and your team. And thank you for acknowledging the relationship that we've had over the last 6 years. I didn't know Julie at all before she became the mayor. And one of the first things that she reminded me that we had to deal with was the fact that there was that threat with a commissioner perhaps being imposed on the city to sort out the city's finances. And I do remember the conversations that we had collectively and individually with Rodney Hyde and assuring him that all would be well, and it was. And I think that was the beginning of a very constructive working relationship that we have all enjoyed. Could I acknowledge Karina and Ewan in their absence, and you, Margaret? It's always been a delight seeing you at many different events around the city, and I admire your passion, not only for your role as a councillor, but also for the many other things. And we do wish you all the very best with what we know is a very exciting future ahead in the next phase of your netball career. But as I say, I want to acknowledge all of the councillors. For your sake, I hope this isn't a valedictory for you as well, and if so, you got off lightly on the speech department. But to those who are in the room who might be wanting to knock off you off your perch, let me just say, good luck to each and every one of you. May there be enough positions to fill all of those aspirations. But you have, as a group, been, I think, a council who have done a huge amount, and it's been fascinating to sit here. I have forgotten much of what I was going to say because I've been reminded of so many other things that have happened over the last few years. And let's not forget that actually some healthy tension is a good thing for a council. Balance is a good thing for a council because that's how you represent the many different communities who serve our city. And the important thing is that you can look back, and Julie, I believe you can look at your list and say, yes, job done, well done. And to all the councillors, you have many things that you can be proud of. Whether it's the gardens, and David and I were proud to work with you to get that significant project's funding. I just want to throw that bit in case you're thinking, where's the next bit of money coming from? But that was a terrific thrill, and boy, can't we be proud of those. I have no doubt that we will end up with a very good replacement for the founders, and you've put the ground in place for that. You look at all the infrastructure, some of this isn't very sexy stuff, but with the new housing developments, new schools, these things are done collectively and collaboratively, and we've worked with you. We've enjoyed working with you. I wish you all the very best. I thank those of you who are leaving. I thank those of you who are standing again for the service that you've given. I believe that Hamilton's on a roll. I don't think we've ever been in a better state than we are right now. We have tremendous growth, tremendous opportunity. You can all take a huge amount of credit for that. Could I just say finally, my wife and I have often enjoyed sitting beside Gordon and Rita at different events. And I couldn't finish off by not saying one more time what I've often said to Rita the first time when we sat beside each other on the first of those back-to-back Super 15 victories for the Chiefs. And Rita was just so excited and passionate as the night went on, and we emerged triumphant. And at the end, I turned to her and said, "We couldn't have done it without you, Rita." And we've had so many high points in years since then. I've said it many, many times. We couldn't have done it without you, Rita. Actually, we couldn't have done it without any of you. So thank you all very much indeed.
Oh, no, there's one sneaking in. Mayor Jan.
Your Worship, Mayor Julie, Deputy Mayor Gordon and CE Richard, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Mayor Jan Barnes from Maramara Piako, very passionate about my patch. But of course, this patch, my patch, is part of the Waikato region. And Julie, I'm very proud to be a woman mayor along with you in the Waikato. And I want to thank you for the hospitality that you have shared with my fellow mayors. You are the big sister. I looked up to you. Steve, we don't know what to call our husbands, and Rex really was adverse to Mayoress, so I've called him the Stallion. So, and that was the heading when I became mayor. The Barnes have had a mayor. No, the mayor, how would it go? Barnes had a mayor, and the Stallion is still standing. But anyway, enough of that. Julie, we've worked together on the Mayoral Forum. I'm here with Mayor Jim and Mayor Allen. We surround the Hamilton City, but we have thoroughly enjoyed working with you. You have set the bar very high for the work ethic of mayors right throughout New Zealand. You have raised the profile for the Waikato region, and we will endeavour to keep that bar raised. Mayor Max from Otrahanga and myself are lucky enough to already be elected again going forward, but I wish my fellow mayors and councillors all the very best going forward. Julie, don't disappear. We do want you to be a part of our passionate communities. Thank you.
I'll hand back over to Mayor Julie.
All right, everyone. We've gone a little bit over time, but we're used to that in the council. I don't think we've ever been to time, actually, in the council. So, look, thank you, everyone, for the wonderful words and for all the speeches and for all of you for coming. It's been a little bit of a trip down memory lane and we've had some good laughs and I think there's lots to talk about. But I want to now, I guess, formally adjourn the council meeting to not a lie down and a cup of tea, just a cup of tea and some lovely food. And so, yeah, we're signing off. The council meeting is now adjourned and please join us for a cup of tea downstairs. Thank you. Tā mai.